Hey loves, and welcome to this episode of the TL Yarncrafts podcast. Of course, I am Tony, and you can find me on Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I am currently existing in a winter wonderland here in Ohio. We finally got our first official snow. It stuck. The roads, thankfully, did not get really gross. Now, I will say, unlike a lot of people, I am not a snow person. I don't care for it. I would rather it just not snow. If it could just be bright and cold always, I'm totally fine with that. But the snow itself, I'm just not a fan. But I would love to know if it's snowing where you are. And if it is, are you a snow person or not a snow person? I think it's a very personal thing for a lot of us. I was born in Texas, spent a whole lot of time in Georgia when I was younger. I love the fact that the heaviest coat I wore in my formative years was literally a windbreaker. And if you were really cool, you had the full-on starter jacket and pants set, so you were just swooshing all winter long, and it was fantastic. Drop down in the comments, let me know, are you a winter person, not a winter person, snow person, not a snow person? All right, my dears, so we have a lot to cover in this episode. We're going to jump right into whips and finished objects. The first thing I'm going to show you, of course, is my temperature blanket, which I have right here. Okay. So I'm still keeping her in this gold basket. This is the same basket that I used for last year's temperature blanket too. And it just serves me well. It's the perfect size for this yarn. These are 50-gram balls of the Knit Pick Swish DK, which I'm using again this year. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about kind of how things are going, a little mistake that I made, and honestly, a change that I wish I could go back and fix for this year, but I'm just gonna ride it out and I'll fix it next year. So this is what we have. I spent yesterday getting all caught up. Let's see what direction it goes this way. So this is what we have. Like I mentioned, I am doing granny squares, and it's just one granny square or kind of corner or side piece for each day. So this is day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. And I decided to put a little white center to mark the first day of a month. But let me show you where I made a mistake. So obviously, from here to here is not 31 days. It's supposed to be for January, but for some reason, when I was working on my blanket, I got to day 24 of January, and then I was like, I'm just gonna do February 1st now. My brain did not even comprehend that I was basically missing an entire week. So I just kept going, and by the time I realized that I'd made the mistake, I'd already woven in the ends on those squares, so I was like, forget it. I was gonna cut it, work it back, but I was like, you know what? It's my blanket. It's my boo-boo. I can fess up to it, but literally who even cares? This blanket is going to be so pretty. I'm already really excited about it. I love that I'm incorporating, they're half squares. So I'm incorporating these half squares that go along the side into the actual blanket. So the one change that I kind of wish I would have made, and if I was if I had my designer hat truly on at the time, I would have caught this is worked in a DK weight yarn, which of course is on the lighter side. And when I was working out the gauge and the size of these squares, it turns out my blanket's going to be a little bit smaller than what I was hoping for. I think I'm going to end up with something 42-ish inches wide and maybe 51 or 52 inches tall. Now, I'm 5'11", so I need a bigger blanket anyway. So this is going to be just kind of a lap blanket for me. I was hoping it'd be kind of a bigger, cozier thing, but I'm starting to warm to the idea that it's going to be a little bit smaller, a little bit easier to work with, especially once this gets a little bit bigger. Right now, I'm able to work with it on my desk, but I know that once this gets large and as I continue to do join as you go squares, this is going to become a beast to work with. So I'm kind of glad that it's a little bit smaller, but if I would have had my designer hat on, I probably would have gone with a worsted weight yarn just to get a little bit more width and height out of this, because I like this kind of small 3 round squares. And yeah, I'm just really happy with it so far. I hope you guys like it. Here's a little closer look at it. This little center white right here is just so cheery, and it'll help me as I continue on and as this gets bigger, kind of identify my months and know where I'm at. So here's the progress so far. If you haven't seen it already, here's my color palette. At least these are for the cooler colors because we're kind of in the cooler part of the year, but I'll go ahead and drop a picture right here with the full palette so you can see that too. So temperature blanket's going well. Are you working on one? Let me know down in the comments. So next up for whips and finished objects, of course, is what I'm making for Make It Cal 2020. If you're not familiar already, Make It Cal is a crochet along that I'm running in the TL Yarn Crafts community. You basically pick any TL Yarn Crafts pattern, free, paid, no matter the skill level or the difficulty or the size of the project. You literally pick any TL Yarn Crafts patterns, work on them, post them either in my Facebook group or on Instagram using the hashtag Make It Cal 2020. And then you're entered for some prizes. So all the details are up on my blog. I'll put a link down in the description about that. But even though I literally have no time to make anything, I have taken on 3 projects for Make It Cal 2020. So here's how it's going. My first finished project is holding my next work in progress. So I'll take some of this stuff out here so you can see it. So this is my Jenna stash basket. I think I mentioned in the last episode that I was going to be working on this, and I did finish it first. Turned out so cute. I love this project so much. And of course, I'm using the base from Jenna from A Cute Design, and the yarn is from Irina of Knits and Pearls. This is a free project, not only here on YouTube, but also on my website, TLYCblog.com. Oh my gosh, I literally can't words today. I'm just bear with me, folks. So I finished this project first. It just took me like a short afternoon, and I really loved starting out the cal with something that can give me that quick win. You know, sometimes you take on these projects and they take a really long time, and you love the process, of course, but sometimes I just need a win. So this was my win. I really, really loved this. I ended up using 2 balls. This is what was left over from the second ball. It really does make a fabulous stash basket. Like, I have 3 of these now, and each of them is filled with a different project. Whew, that sounds so overwhelming, but yes, this is the Jenna stash basket, which I finished for Make It Cal 2020. So my other project was an Odyssey wrap. So my Odyssey wrap, I'll post a picture up here. My Odyssey wrap I absolutely love, but I made it for Love Crafts, and they still have my samples, and I wanted one for myself because it's so cold outside, and I just love like the idea of just wrapping this giant thing around my neck. So initially these were my colors. And I do love these colors together. I was really, really excited about this. But as I started working it up, I hated it. Hated it, hated it, hated it. All the colors just felt really dull. And I don't know why, but right now I'm just really into like super saturated, really kind of loud colors. Not like brights and neons, but just colors that obviously like are not afraid to exist. I want colors that are loud and proud. So like, this is a really pretty red, but I want like a deep, like really saturated, like I'm super luxurious and gorgeous red, you know, like this is a nice gray. And I think it honestly was the gray that really turned me off. It's nice enough, but it's just so dull. I didn't love it. So she's going away. I'm sick of her. That didn't work out, but I did find some yarn in my stash that did work out. So this is my updated Odyssey wrap, which I am thoroughly in love with. Look at her. She is coming right along. I love this project because it's fast, and you just use so much color. And I really like to design and to make projects where you're kind of painting with color. So this is a really simple design. It uses the linen stitch. I'll put a link to the pattern down in the description. It's got some really good stretch. It's got some really good drape. So the colors that I'm using are from Leading Men Fiber Arts. So there's this really pretty kind of purpley pink. It honestly looks like slightly watered down like grape jam, which I love. Then there's this one, which I tried to describe this to a friend, and I was like, it looks like somebody took a watered down rainbow and painted it on a newspaper. I was like, as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, what does that mean? That means nothing. But this is what I was trying to get at, which I love this color, and I think it's so pretty. And then I have this like really nice tonal gray. And then I added in some ba, and this is I think it's called La Perla. Really simple, like cream colorway. Now, when I first started working this up, and I was probably about to like here, I was like, man, this kind of looks like my grandma's like old cushions. And I got a little bit nervous because my original Odyssey wrap, I completely fell in love with. Like, those colors came together so perfectly. So when I was working this up, I was like, oh my gosh, did I just start another sample that I don't like? But as I kept going, I was like, you know what? It kind of looks a little bit grandma, but I don't care. I love it so much. It's gotten really, really great responses on Instagram, so I'm going to keep going. And I can't wait to get to the point where I can put all those pretty tassels on it. So this was my second project for Make It Cal 2020. And then the last one, which I started and kind of had to table it because it's just going to take a really long time. That's going to be my Tunisian triangle shawl, which was the project that I designed for the crafters box when I went. So those boxes got shipped, and actually now you can get the box in their marketplace. I'll put a link to that down in the description too, but it's gonna make this big, beautiful triangle wrap. So the original sample is made with 2 colors. I have 4 though. So I have kind of this light grainy color, kind of a dark grainy color, this really nice dove gray, and then this nice charcoal color. So I'm gonna start striping these, and I'm almost done with my first ball. So you know, maybe this won't take as long as I thought it would, but I don't know. Once I pulled the colors for my Odyssey wrap out of my bag, I was like, I kind of need to work on this. So Make It Cal 2020 is going really, really good. Right now we're in week 3, headed into week 4. There are 5 total weeks. So if you haven't started a project, there's still time to jump in. You just have to pick any project, either from my blog or my website, free or paid, doesn't even matter. Or if you have a TL Yarn Crafts whip already, pull that bad boy out, keep working on it, snap some photos, and you'll be in the running for prizes. So over the course of Make It Cal 2020, there have been some really, really amazing works in progress happening, and I just wanted to share a few of them that I really, really loved. So here's a quick slideshow of some of the standout projects of Make It Cal 2020. I want to thank you all for participating. You guys are continuing to encourage me. I don't work on personal projects a lot since I design. Like, all the ideas that I have are usually like for production. So the fact that I can make a couple of my own designs to keep those samples for myself is just really, really special. So I want to thank you all for participating. And just a quick note, if you are participating in Make It Cal 2020, please, pretty please, upload your projects to Ravelry so you can share those with even more makers as they continue to discover my patterns. I'd appreciate that so much. So I do have a few finished projects, and like I said, a lot of the ideas that I have are for production, but I do love making samples of new designs, and I want to show off a couple of the ones that I've recently released. So the first one is going to be my Drexel Beanie. This one I released just before Make It Cal 2020. It was when I was headed to Vogue Knitting Live, and here she is. She's a big, bobbly, cabled masterpiece. I love her. And she's massive and chunky, super duper warm, and just like really cute and fun and playful. So I designed this with Knit Picks Mighty Stitch, which is a wool blend. I designed this in collaboration with We Crochet, which of course is the sister site to Knit Picks. It's the crochet-centric site, and they have a lot of ambassadors, which I think is really, really cool. So I am one of those, and I get to make a project every single month. So this was my project for January, and I loved how quickly this worked up, and I love kind of how the pattern ended up taking shape. Not only do you have like these full-on instructions, but this project also has like some really good shaping. It has some really good stitch choices. It's worked in different directions. So it's an opportunity to kind of try out some different techniques. This pattern is free up on my blog, tlycblog.com, so I'll include a link to that as well as the yarn that I used. So this would be a really fun project for Make It Cal 2020. You could finish this in like, I don't know, a lazy Sunday afternoon. Another project that I finished and released is my Fairbanks shawl, and here she is in all her glory. I don't think she was done last time for our podcast episode. Are you seeing this color? Oh. I'm so in love with this shawl. I'm going to pop her on real quick because she's just so stinking cute. So this is the yarn in the project that I made with my Ken Yarn Advent for 2019. So I talked all about my Advent, I think, in my last episode, and I finally got this project done. I got some really pretty pictures of it, and now that I've got the photos, like, I can finally wear it. It even looks cute over denim. Like, can you deal? I can't. Can you? I cannot. The moment that I did the last stitch on this, I was like, immediately sad that it was over. And I love projects like that where you just get so lost in the stitching and in the colors and in the shaping and just everything. But it's not this big overwhelming project. The only stitches that you end up using in this are single crochets and spike stitches. There's some single crochet decreases, some single crochet increases, and spike stitches, which are so simple, which I explained completely in the pattern. So even if you're like relatively a beginner in crochet, if you have some beautiful mini skeins, or maybe you got an advent, or maybe you have a whole bunch of like leftover yarn from other bigger projects, this is a really great way to use up those scraps, use up those leftovers, or even play around with minis, because I feel like crocheters don't get a whole lot of opportunity to work with minis, which I think is insane. So I'm trying to incorporate more minis into my repertoire. So I have this one that uses minis. I also have my Koala Shawl, which is a free pattern up on my blog that uses minis as well. So I hope if you're a crocheter, this kind of encourages you to work outside of your comfort zone and to play around with some yarns maybe you're not familiar with. So this is the Fairbanks Shawl. I used my Advent, which is a DK weight, and ultimately you can use whatever you want. So this is the kind of pattern that's really like a canvas where I give you the instructions, but you can kind of play around with where colors are placed, with whether or not you do the striping, with how thick or thin kind of that border of spike stitches are. You can really personalize this and have some fun with it. So I absolutely love it myself. I don't know. I think I might just I might just leave it on because it actually feels like really nice here. Let me there you go. Tuck that in. I'm looking like really good right now. I'm like loving this. So next up is #YarnLove, and I could not wait to get here because I have a lot to show you guys. I know I've mentioned in previous episodes that I was kind of like on a yarn fast or whatever, but I feel like I was probably just on a yarn fast until the next big yarn event came up, and that for me was Vogue Knitting Live. I went with my mom just a couple weeks ago, and it's just this really big, amazing event. It's a yarn convention. There are classes, which I took one, fashion shows, a lot of really amazing designers there, all of your favorite yarns are there. They have this massive marketplace. It's 2 floors and just literally yarn everywhere. So I kind of blacked out and bought everything that I thought was really pretty. So now I'm going to show you what I got. So the first yarn that I'm going to share is what I got from Lola Bean Yarn Co. And that's this right here. Now I know that this is way outside my wheelhouse. You guys have never in a million years seen me use a green like this. Like even the yellow that's in this shawl, the only reason I ended up using is because it came in the Advent and I used all the Advent colors. But this, not typically my color. But I don't know, part of me was like, this color is just so pretty. It's called Mean and Green, and it's a really pretty like yellow green, like a tonal yellow green, and it also has this really great speckles, and it's really light on the speckles, like it's not too heavy. And I matched it with this color, which is called Handball Court. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm not sure why it's called Handball Court. I've never been to a handball court, so perhaps they are gray. I don't know. But I thought these worked really pretty together, and I got this nice dove gray to kind of tone down some of the bright in the green. What this is going to become, I literally have zero idea. I have no plans for this, have not worked it out, but I just needed to have it. I am in this season where I think I'm accumulating yarn again, and I probably within the next few short months will need to get rid of some of this, but I just needed to possess this. I needed to have this. So thank you so much from Lola Bean Yarn Co. for having this at Vogue, because your girl grabbed it real quick. So next up are these beauties from Barnyard Knits. Just literally, I don't know why, but I was really attracted to this color first because I thought it looked like ice cream. It looked like a really good chocolate ice cream with like fudge swirl through it. But if you look a little bit closer, they're like teal green and like soft pink speckles in here. Oh, beautiful. And then I ultimately wanted kind of its opposite. So like kind of the same speckle pattern, but on a cream base, which I found right here. So these are their this is Barnyard Knits DK. This color is called Woodland, and this color is called Cabin in the Snow. So I have an idea for a really pretty cowl pattern with like ribbing on the top and the bottom, and like a really kind of simple, pretty stitch pattern in the middle. Like I've just been really drawn to simpler patterns and just really letting yarns shine, because there are so many gorgeous yarns out there right now. So I want to make sure that I don't kind of over design these projects so that the yarn can really shine and show out. So When that will actually happen, Lord knows, but I needed to have this in my stash because I feel like this is a type of yarn that as I continue to look at it will continue to kind of inspire me and bring me to that place where I'm like, yes, I'm finally ready to make something happen with you. So this was from Barnyard Knits. Again, the colorways are Woodland and Cabin in the Snow. Just a couple more from Vogue. I tried not to go too crazy, but I got a lot. So this one is from Cat Sandwich, which you guys know I am a cat person. Like, obviously, I have my cat Peanut on my wrist. It's always so hard to show off this tattoo. Wait, there he is. I don't know. I tried my best. I am a cat person. Absolutely love cats. So when I saw the sign that said Cat Sandwich, I was like, clearly I need to go in this booth and check it out. And I'm really, really glad I did. I picked up these two beauties. And it's no coincidence that I'm picking up basically pairs of things from every single booth that I go to. I used to shop and just get like singles, and I would end up coming home with like one skein of yarn from all these different shops, and nothing really, really fit together. So I've ultimately started getting two from every single shop that I go to make sure that if I only use their yarns, I can still make something really nice. So these are from Cat Sandwich. This is their DK base. It's called Trusty DK 7525 Merino Nylon. This colorway is called Rhinebeck Red, and it's this really pretty like brick red that leans a little bit purple, which I love. And then this colorway on the same base is called Garden Tea Party. So I love that the cream color has some speckles that come from this pretty Rhinebeck red. So I originally had a hat pattern planned for this. But I don't know, the more I look at it, I'm like, maybe this wants to become kind of like a slightly bigger, like higher impact project. I don't know, who knows? And ultimately too, I buy all this yarn and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna design something new. But sometimes, like is the case with my Odyssey wrap, I'll go into my stash and find yarns that I fell in love with probably years ago. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make something for myself. So who knows if these will actually turn into a design. And then next up from Vogue, I got this big old chunky, gorgeous girl. I mean, oh, look at her. I could stare at her all day long. So this yarn is from Lavender Loon Yarn Co., which is in this colorway is exclusive to Stephen B. So Stephen B, if you're not familiar, and I'll put a link to him down in the description, he is a very, very fantastic influencer in the knit and crochet community. And he pairs up with a lot of different yarn companies to do exclusive colorways, really fun bases, and just kind of explore yarn through the lens of all these different dyers because everybody's doing something a little bit different. This is a superwash BFL fingering weight, but it's 150 grams. So we're at 657 yards here. And that's why I didn't get two of these because this is basically a skein and a half of yarn in just one skein. And this colorway is called Cedar Leaf. And it's got some really nice like orange and pink and red tones. I went very, very warm. Like if you look at my whole haul together, like it's a very me palette as opposed to like not including this green right now, but otherwise it's a very warm, like luscious red infused palette. I want to try my very best to design something with this skein all by itself, just using the 150 grams, just to challenge myself to try something a little bit different. I haven't done a fingering weight design in a really long time. I want to do a shawl or like a shawlette. We'll see. Like one of the designs I did with fingering weight was my Coles River kerchief, which I did in collaboration with Ken Yarn, and that one uses 2 full skeins. And it's a good size, but it's like a very shallow, long shawl. For this one, I want to go with something that's a little bit more symmetrical. I don't know, we'll play around with it. This will just be like kind of a personal design for myself. And if I love it, I'll release it. And if I don't, I'll just wear it. And I don't know, we'll see what happens here. And then the very last thing that I got from VKL is this right here. This is a project from Rico Rumi. It's this little koala guy. And it was designed by my friend Christina of Tiny Curl. And I love her and I love her amigurumi designs. I haven't actually made any yet. So I thought when I saw this that this was just so, so cute. It comes with everything that you need, several different grays, a nice cream yarn, a little bit of pink for the cheeks, and it'll be an opportunity for me to kind of stretch myself because my amigurumi skills, like I can follow a pattern to the T, no problem, but I feel like there's some other technical skills that come with amigurumi roomy that you have to be very cognizant of so you can really come out with that perfect finished project. And this is small enough and cute enough, I think, for me to kind of flex those skills a little bit without having to like invest a ton of time in a project. So big props to Christina, who has now done 2 projects, like 2 collections with Rico Rumi. I have her books too that she released with the patterns, and I think she's working on one right now. She has another one coming out in like March or May or something like that. Like, she is on it, and she's got like a brand new-ish baby too. So many props to people who are running their own businesses while also having small children, because I have all the time in the world and I still feel like I can't get everything done. So you guys are crushing it, clearly. So this was the last thing that I treated myself to from VKL. I had an amazing experience there. If you ever have a chance to go to a Vogue Knitting live event, I definitely encourage you to do it. They had one in Columbus. They bebop all over the country, but the New York one is like the big one. So I'm hoping to go next year as well, going in 2021, and just to kind of hang out and see what they've got new, because there's always new designers, always new yarns, always new classes, all kinds of fun stuff going on there. So definitely an exciting haul from VKL this year. Next, we're going to get into my favorite things. Some of them are yarn related, some of them are not. And the first thing that I want to talk about are TV shows that I'm currently watching. So I crochet a lot, obviously. So I have to have something going in the background. Sometimes it's a podcast, sometimes it's an audiobook, but lately I've been kind of in the season of TV watching. And one of the shows that I'm really excited about right now is called Prodigal Son. Prodigal Son is on Fox, and it follows a boy who is the son of a very prolific serial killer called the Surgeon, who is now locked up, and you know, the world's a better place because of it. But this boy has a whole lot of trauma from having gone through that with his father, and is now actually a criminal profiler. So he's working in conjunction with the NYPD to start solving crimes. Ultimately, it always keeps coming back to the relationship between this boy and his father and just how completely messed up it is. Like, he has really crazy night terrors, severe anxiety, weird social skills. He's got a whole lot of issues, and his whole family does. And it talks a lot about his mom, who is actually Millie from Scandal. He's got a sister who never really developed a relationship with her father, and she's a reporter, so she's trying to build a relationship through doing like an expose about how he was like this crazy serial killer. It's kind of got like this true crime twist to it. It's not the true part, but definitely the crime part. And just understanding not only these cases that they're trying to solve, but also this like really screwed up family dynamic. I've been binging it on Hulu, and if you need a series to just kind of breeze through some projects with, Prodigal Son is a great choice. Another series I totally breezed through is called Cheer on Netflix. Now, I know this show is super controversial. I completely get it, but I could not stop watching it. I think it's either produced or directed by the same people that did Last Chance U, which was one of my absolute favorite documentary series on Netflix. And that one follows like these football players at community colleges, and it's just like the coaches, I don't know, you love to hate them. I can say that much. So with Cheer, it follows this set of cheerleaders that's at one of the best cheerleading schools. You learn a lot about the cheer coach and all of like the individual members of this cheer squad. There's a whole lot of drama about like who makes mat and who doesn't. But the thing that's got everybody really conflicted about this show is the injuries. Like, I've never considered how injury prone cheerleaders are. Like, you are literally throwing people up and trying to catch them as best as you can, and everybody falls really hard, but then you're supposed to bounce up and do all of these other things, these stunts, and it's really crazy. And one of the things that I appreciate about Cheer, even though it's really cringeworthy, is that they do show you that people are truly getting hurt in this sport. And these are very young people. A lot of them end up being the women who are being like thrown up and coming down, and there's a lot of choreography. And if that choreography doesn't go well, somebody can get really injured. There's one scene that I feel really bad to say that I had to like replay it, but I was watching it when I was crocheting, so I kind of missed it. There's this one scene where like there are these 2 girls that are being held up like by their ankles or their feet or something, and they kind of cross, and somebody's supposed to be there to catch them on the other side. And for some reason they crossed, and the girl that went this way, there was nobody to catch her, and she fell, and oh my God, the visual of it. And it's like, as soon as she fell, they cut away from it. But like you saw that there was 1, nobody there, and 2, she hit that ground hard. And that was just one of several scenes where like people were getting really, really, really hurt. It just goes to show like these are true athletes, and these are people that, you know, in a lot of ways work even harder than some of, I think, the other athletes in other sports. They are truly putting their bodies to the test, and these are college age young people. They have a lot of drive, and it's a very competitive atmosphere. Your adrenaline gets going as they're building up to this big competition, and you're seeing like all of these players fall one by one, and I don't know, it was really, really crazy. She was very, very good. I love the way that they put it together, and you really got invested in this team. Thankfully, there's a happy ending, but it's the journey that really got me on this one. And the last thing that I want to share on my favorite things is kind of a weird obsession that I've recently developed. So I spend a lot of time on YouTube. I love finding like short clips and videos to watch, just kind of like those little bits of content to ingest. And I don't know why, but lately I've gotten really into watching people play Uno on YouTube. So there are several different channels of people who kind of cast their gameplay of Uno, and it's usually them with several different friends, and it's not necessarily Uno just as the game, but it's all of the commentary and all of like that really funny background like banter that's happening between all of these friends. There's always kind of the one friend who's, you know, keeps saying that they're not really good, but they actually continue to win. There's another character that always is just like really angry with how things are going, and he's got like these massive rage issues because he just keeps losing. And then, you know, there's the folks that kind of round out that kind of set of 4 friends. So I've actually downloaded a couple versions of Uno on my phone because this is a game that I used to play all the time when I was younger. We had Uno, we had Phase 10, and of course all of the board games. So there's something nostalgic about it for me. But then I'm also into watching gaming on YouTube anyway. So it kind of brings 2 of those things that I really enjoy together. If you've got like 10, 15 minutes, I would definitely encourage you to just Google Uno on YouTube and watch one of these videos. They are so funny, so hilarious. I'm going to put some links down to some of my favorite videos that I've watched recently in the description. So next up, we're going to move on to open floor, where I get to talk about whatever I want. And I am going to talk a bit about how to make your images pop on social media. So I love spending time on Facebook, on Instagram. I love that those are both very visual platforms now. So it's not so much about text anymore. It's really about creating that gorgeous like visual story that's going to make somebody stop scrolling through their feed. So I just wanted to share a few tips that I would encourage you to employ if you feel like your Instagram is maybe getting a little bit stagnant. Maybe you're not clear on what story you're trying to tell on your Instagram right now. So here's just a few things that you can do to really create those compelling images on social media. So my very first tip, and this is a great place to start, whether you're just getting on social media or maybe you just want to kind of start fresh from wherever you are, my advice is to pick a theme. And that not only includes kind of the subject matter of your feed, but it's also the colors and the color story that you're telling. So when it comes to the subject matter, you want to kind of hone in on whatever niche that you're going to cover within your feed. So mine is obviously yarn, crochet. I also infuse some cats and I infuse some coffee because those are my favorite things. So I'm constantly telling a story through my feed about projects that I'm currently working on, things that I've finished, patterns that I'm selling, events that I'm going to, friends that I'm spending time with, but always my photos are really centered on those central subjects. So yarn, coffee, and cats. Like that's my thing. I also tell a story through my colors. Now I will say I used to be a little bit more consistent with colors kind of back in the day. I worked with a lot of warm neutrals and pinks and reds, and now I'm exploring a lot more color, but I'm still keeping it within kind of a range that makes sense. I'm not throwing out some neons and then like a picture where everything's all cream and then like pastels. It's not all over the place. Right now I'm just working in like these kind of bright saturated colors, and that is still a true and honest color story for me to tell. And when you're choosing your color story, try to pick a theme of colors that you can stick with. If you like rainbows, go with rainbows. If you like all neutrals, go with neutrals. Cool or warm, you can pick which side of the spectrum you want to work on. But ultimately, when somebody is looking at your feed, you want them to start to identify your photos with you as an account. So if you stick with pastels and this really kind of light and airy feel, be consistent in that way so people can start associating your photos with you, and that'll really help your photos in your feed kind of stand out. Now, once you've chosen your theme, the next step is to pick your props. And that means what kind of auxiliary pieces are you going to add into your photos? So if I'm going to show off a scarf one day, maybe I'm going to add some props to go with it. So I might put in a crochet hook. I might put in a pair of scissors. I might pull in a plant. I might pull in some textiles to go behind or around whatever I'm taking a photo of. And then another prop that I like to use is my hands. I always have my nails painted, and I'll maybe put my hand into a photo if it complements the colors in that photo. So pull together some props that you want to regularly use, and I encourage you to have kind of a prop basket. So I have this big basket where I keep a whole lot of props in that I don't use on a regular basis. But if I'm pulling in, you know, a crochet hook or a pair of scissors, of course, those are in accessible places, and I'm going to throw those in there. And I will say, I have kind of a full collection of crochet hooks and scissors, so I'll swap those out every now and then just to keep the photos nice and fresh. Another thing I encourage just to keep your photos fresh is to really mix things up. So maybe one day you have a photo where you have a very clear focal point. Maybe it's just like a single ball of yarn or a single project inside of a basket. Maybe the next day you have a photo where there's kind of a lot going on. So you're mixing that kind of busy with that minimal kind of look. You can also mix up your point of view in those photos. So maybe you have a flat lay followed by a photo of yourself, followed by a photo of outside, and then maybe another flat lay. Maybe you do a behind the scenes photo. Like, adjust maybe the direction that people are looking at when they look in your photos. So some days they're looking down, some days they're looking forward, maybe they're looking up, looking to the side, whatever it happens to be. So then you kind of keeping people guessing, because you don't want your photos to get stagnant unless one of your themes is just having really, really great flat lays. Like, if that's your thing and you can mix it up and keep that fresh and exciting, definitely do that. But if you're going for kind of a more traditional layout on your feed, make sure you're adjusting that perspective and that point of view every few photos. Another suggestion is to ditch the text. And that's one of the first pieces of advice I give to people if they say, I don't understand kind of why my feed is not getting the attention I want it to get. If you're putting text on your images just kind of randomly, I would encourage you and challenge you to start making captivating images that don't include text. Because when people are scrolling through their timeline, they're visual first. So create that really strong image and then put that text in the caption. In my opinion, that's where text goes. Unless you've incorporated text into your theme in a really interesting way. Maybe you're a graphic designer and every now and then you're putting in like this really beautifully developed font or this really nice image that has like text flowing through it, but do it in a thoughtful way. Don't just like grab a stock image, put text on it and put that up in your feed, because that photo is probably not going to perform very well. So if you're trying to breathe some new life into your feed, ditch the text and just focus on making really great images. So we've talked a lot about how to clean up your feed and create these really captivating images. And next up, I want to share a tip that's going to create some consistency, and that is picking a filter. So picking a filter has become so easy, and we have so many options these days. For years, I worked in an app called Color Story to pick my filters from. And then of course I would kind of fine tune it by like adjusting the brightness or, playing around with the contrast and the saturation, all that good stuff. But I have since moved into the Lightroom mobile app, and I downloaded kind of this package of really pretty filters that work together. It's called the Light and Airy package. Like, you can literally get one of these packages from anywhere. I think I got it on a sale where it was like $6 and you get like 15 filters. And what's nice about them is that each of the filters does something different, but depending on the image that I took, I can add some of these different filters to really get that cohesive look. I have one particular filter that I kind of gravitate towards, and of course I'm not going to say it because that's proprietary to Peel Yarn Crafts. Find that filter that feels very you and that you can put on just about all of your images to give you that cohesion within your feed. And if all else fails and you really just don't know what to do to breathe some new life into your feed, I would just encourage you to keep it simple. Really clean, well-lit images always do super well on Instagram. So even if you just have one central focal point, or if you're just highlighting like the texture or the colors within a project, really keeping it simple, putting a nice clean filter on it will kind of help just develop some cohesion and maybe give you a good clean slate to then work from to keep your images looking great. So if you enjoyed that advice, I would encourage you to get even more social media advice from me when I present later this month at Midwest Craft Con. So the Midwest Craft Con is a convention for artists and makers, and you could be business owners or not, it really doesn't matter, but if you're looking to kind of build your brand and build your art, Midwest Craft Con is for you. There are going to be a lot of great panel discussions, breakout sessions, and also some really great keynotes to get you inspired to build up your brand even more than it is right now. I'm going to include some information below for you to still get tickets for Midwest Craft Con, and I hope to see you here in Columbus really soon. So next up, we're going to talk about this month's pattern spotlight, and that's going to be my Mega Palm Beanie. And here she is in the flesh. I love this project so much. This is actually the very first pattern that I ever designed and released, and that was back in 2015, which feels like such a long time ago, but I'm still totally obsessed with this pattern. And what I'm really, really excited about is now you can actually get this pattern in several different sizes, all the way from newborn up to adult. One of the things that I'm challenging myself with this year is just developing my skills around sizing and shaping. So the Mega Palm Beanie is definitely one of those patterns that I revisited so I could expand the sizes. I love this design because it's actually incredibly simple, even though it does use kind of fun and interesting techniques. And that's really what I strive for in all of my patterns. So it's worked from the top down, and it's all in double crochet stitches throughout the body. You just kind of adjust some little tweaks on where those stitches are placed to get this really, really good texture. And then you finish up with my applied ribbing technique, which is by far one of my most popular videos here on YouTube. It's just a really interesting way to put a crochet ribbing on the bottom of a top-down hat. And it's a technique that you can use on just about anything. I've used it on cardigans, I've used it on sweaters, I've used it on hats, obviously, and it just gives you this really nice seamless ribbing on it. I love the simplicity of this hat, and I think it really looks cute for like mommy and me sets. So if you're making anything for like a baby shower, this is always my go-to, always, always. I'm actually waiting for somebody to tell me they're about to have a baby so I can give them these samples. So the Mega Palm Beanie is our pattern spotlight. You can find this pattern on my website, tlyarncrafts.com, as well as on Ravelry under TL Yarn Crafts, and I hope you have a whole lot of fun with it. So we're gonna wrap things up with my final word, which is just a touch of encouragement to take you through the rest of your day. And today's final word is pick your battles. Knowing when to fight and when to push back is super crucial, not only in business, but in romantic and interpersonal relationships and just in life in general. Picking too many battles can leave you emotionally drained and scarred. Picking too few battles might cause you to question your passions. I read a really great article in Forbes about this, and they suggested 4 different questions that you should answer when you're picking your battles. The very first question is this your battle to fight? You might feel really passionate about something, but you have to consider the context and whether or not this is your battle to fight or somebody else's. The next question is, what difference will winning make in the long term? Is this just a battle that you need to take on to feel validated in that moment, or will winning this actually make some kind of tangible impact? And choose whether or not, based on that answer, you should be taking this on. Question number 3 is, what happens if you lose? So you're not going to win every battle that you go into, but you have to consider the consequences if this does not go your way. And are those consequences so big that it's probably best for you to not go into this? And then question number 4 was, win, lose, or draw, are you going to feel good about having gone into this battle? Will you ultimately be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, this was important enough for me to step in and step up for what I believe in? If you're going to feel kind of crappy about having gone into this, whether you win or lose, maybe it's best to step back. I am very judicious about picking my battles. My motto for 2019 was no stress, and I'm thinking about just infusing that into the rest of my life. Being really smart about the battles that I choose, make sure that I keep my emotional energy in check and leveled. So there are certain things that I'm really, really passionate about, and sometimes I address those in private, but occasionally I do need to, speak up and speak out about the things that are important to me. And I hope that those 4 questions will help you choose what battles to pick. Thanks so much for checking out this episode of the TL Yarn Crafts podcast. I am Tony, and as always, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest. And I always forget to mention Ravelry. I'm on there too. Love you, Mom. Love you, Dad. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.